Discussion about the demons, which are called in Hebrew a shin dalet, a shade, or a shida. Last time we were discussing what they're made out of, that they're made out of fire and air, or wind, eish v'ruach. And they're usually found in places that are desolate, places that people are not around over there. And the pasuk says about Shlomo HaMelech, King Shlomo, had all different types of music. You just started with some music, but he also had shida v'shidas. He had control, or he tried to gain control of demons. And Rabbi Yochanan said that in a certain place called Shichin, there were 300 demons. Nevertheless, he didn't know what a demon is. I don't know what it looks like. That's what Rashi says. Let's see, you could have some grapes over here. So the question is, why did Shlomo HaMelech need all these demons for? What was his use of them? Why was he trying to gain control? So where it says Amar Mar, on the bottom of the page, the Gemara returns to its previous discussion. Amar Mar, Hacha Targimu, the master said above, here in Babylonia they interpreted Shida and Shidos as meaning male and female demons. The Gemara asks, for what purpose did Shlomo need male and female demons? Why did he need them? And they mention over here that usually it's forbidden to make use of demons. So why over here was Shlomo HaMelech using them? What was the purpose for them? The Gemara answers, it is written, when the house, that is the Beis HaMikdash, was being built, it was built of whole quarried stone. Hammers, chisels, or any iron tools were not in the house when it was being built. You see here that for building the Beis HaMikdash, they were not allowed to use any iron. This verse teaches that tools were not used to cut the stones for the Beis HaMikdash. So how are you going to cut stones if you don't have tools? And the reason why iron is not used, because it could be used for killing or to shorten life. So we don't want to use that for the Beis HaMikdash, which is a place that's supposed to increase life and connect it to life. So he has this problem here. How do we make stones? How do we measure things for the Beis HaMikdash? Shlomo asked the rabbis, how shall I do this? How can I make stones to the right shape and size without metal tools? They replied to him, there is the Shamir. What is the Shamir? The Shamir, let's look at footnote 13. The Shamir is a creature that can cut through the hardest materials. It was amongst the 10 items created at Twilight Bein HaShmashos just before the Shabbos of creation. So there's a Shamir. Usually it says that it's like a worm. It's a very small worm. It's very thin. It's like a hair. But it's so powerful it could cut even the hardest materials. And they told Shlomo, you want to cut for the Beis HaMikdash without using iron, you got to find this Shamir. And this Shamir, which Moshe used for engraving the stones of the ephod. What does this mean? Let's look at footnote 14. The names of the 12 tribes of Israel were engraved on the 2 stones of the ephod, one of the Kohen Gadol's garments, 6 on each stone. Yeah, the Kohen Gadol had, right on his shoulders, he had 2 stones, and on it was written the 6 names on each, which equal the 12 tribes. However, the stones had to remain whole even after being engraved. So how do you do that? How do you carve into a rock and it still should stay whole? It can't be missing anything. In order to engrave the names, Moshe first inked the letters on the stones and then placed the Shamir on the inked lines. The lines then automatically split, forming the shapes of the letters. This is pretty miraculous, to make a cut and to be able to read letters at the same time not taking out any of the stone. It just split, but without taking out, the stones remained complete. So they told Shlomo to use the same thing that Moshe used for the stones of the ephod. Now, how do we find it? How do we find the Shamir? So back inside, they told him to use the Shamir to cut the stones. He asked them, where is the Shamir found? They answered him, bring a male and female demon and apply pressure to them. Perhaps they know, and they will tell you where the Shamir is found. So that's the answer to our question. Why do we need the demons? In order to locate the Shamir. The only way to get the Shamir is if you add pressure to the male and female demons together. So everything over here has a lot of questions, and we need to try to figure this out, right? Why do we need demons to find the Shamir? What connection does the demon have to a Shamir, to this worm? Why do you need to have the male and the female? What's adding pressure to them? What's going on over here? He brought we'll continue and then go deeper soon. He brought a male and female demon and applied pressure to them. They said, we do not know where the Shamir is found, but perhaps Ashmedai, king of the demons, knows. So now we know the name of the king of the demons. He's called Ashmedai. Over here in the bottom, footnote 16, it says, Ashmedai is the general name for all kings of demons, just as every king of Egypt is called Pharaoh. So this is a general name. It's not just in this specific instance, but it's a general thing. If you look in Hebrew, the word Ashmedai, and what words could we make up from it? Ashmedai. See on the top. So Ashmedai. Mida, you see the word Mida. It's also like Shemad. It can mean like to hashmed, to destroy something. We said before that demons, they bring about destruction. Also, the first two letters are Ash, which would be Aish, fire. And we'll see soon why that's important. So we got to get the king of the demons. So first he put pressure to two demons, the male and the female. And they said that we don't know, well, you should ask the king of the demons. He said to them, where is Ashmedai? They said to him, he is on such and such a mountain, where he has dug for himself a pit, filled it with water, and covered it with a stone that is sealed with his signet. Every day he goes up to heaven and studies with the heavenly academy. This is a demon. The king of demons is studying in a yeshiva, in the heavenly academy, and then descends to earth and studies with the earthly academy. So he's learning in two yeshivas. He's learning in the upstairs yeshiva and the one down here. He then comes back to his pit, examines his seal to make sure that nobody has tampered with the pit, uncovers the pit, drinks from the water, covers the pit again, seals it, and leaves. So now we know the minhag, the custom of this demon.
He's afraid snakes will get in his water?
Snakes, or maybe even humans. Maybe someone else is going to tamper with his water. So, what does it mean over here that they study in yeshiva? Let's look at footnote 17. Demons have both heavenly and earthly qualities. Last time we learned that there's three things that they compare to humans and three things they compare to angels. Thus, they are capable of comprehending matters that are in the realms of angels, which is the heavenly academy, as well as concepts that are in the grasp of man, the earthly academy. Ashmedai studied both fields of knowledge. So that's the way the Maharal explains it. It's trying to say that they have understanding of both, the things that angels could understand and that people could understand. About the drinking, what Ashmedai drink. Let's see, 18. Demons eat and drink in the manner of humans. Therefore, Ashmedai sealed his pit. So, continues on the next page, so that he would know whether anyone had gained access to the water while he was away and possibly poisoned it. So you mentioned snakes, so it is connected to poison, but not only snakes, maybe a human or tried to poison. Alternatively, this is not to be understood in the physical sense, rather it is a spiritual matter. That is, the demons consume spiritual nourishment. Each demon requires his unique form of nourishment based on his nature. Ashmedai's pit of water was uniquely his. It can thus be said that the pit was sealed with his personal signet. So there's, just like different creatures have different foods, so demons also have their spiritual nourishment. And this was his unique thing. He sealed it. This is mine for no one else. This was kind of his power. Last time, it's kind of a discussion actually, if demons eat or they only drink. I saw some opinions say that they only drink, and the reason why they need to drink is because they're made of fire, so they get so hot, so they need to drink, to lower their temperature. So that's why it actually in the Gemara it doesn't mention anything about Ashmedai eating. It only mentions about him drinking, because they specifically need drink to, because they're so hot, because they're made of fire. So this is what the demons are telling Shlomo HaMelech about their king, about Ashmedai. This is his minhag. He goes to study, he drinks, he covers the place where he drinks, and then he leaves again. Okay, page 144. Let's see how the story continues. Once Shlomo has been told that Ashmedai, king of demons, knew the location of the Shamir, he sought to capture Ashmedai. So this is on page 144. He sent Benayahu ben Yehoyada. He was the head of the Sanhedrin and commander of the king's army, to bring him Ashmedai. So he picked him specifically. This was the head of the Sanhedrin. And he gave him some things to be able to capture him. He gave him a chain on which the name of Hashem was engraved, a ring on which the name of Hashem was engraved, balls of wool, and skins of wine. And we'll see soon how all of these things were important to be able to capture Ashmedai. The chain, wool, and wine would be used to capture Ashmedai as related below, and the ring would protect Beniyo from being harmed by Ashmedai. With these items, he went to Ashmedai's mountain lair. He dug a pit in the slope of the mountain below Ashmedai's pit, made a narrow channel between the two pits, siphoned the waters of Ashmedai's pit into his. So he's emptying all the water of Ashmedai's pit, and then plugged the channel with the balls of wool. So this Ashmedai shouldn't realize, that he took out his water. He then dug another pit above Ashmedai's pit, made a narrow channel between these two pits, and poured the wine into the upper one so that it would flow into Ashmedai's pit. So now instead of having one pit, there's three. He has the pit on the bottom where Ashmedai's water is drained into. He has the pit on the top which had wine, and now he's pouring it into Ashmedai's pit, which used to have water, and now it's full of wine. So he's doing a lot of digging here. He then filled the two new pits with earth so that Ashmedai would not see them and think that his pit has been tampered with. Benayo climbed up and sat in a tree to wait for Ashmedai. When Ashmedai arrived, he examined the seal of the pit and saw that it was intact. He uncovered the pit and found it filled with wine. So now let's see, with demons and wine, is it okay for them to drink wine? He said to himself, "It is written, wine breeds mockery, aged wine madness, and everyone who blunders in it will not be wise." This is a pasuk from Mishlei, and this is basically saying that wine is not a good idea for chachma. If you want to keep your sanity, if you drink too much wine, it makes you foolish in a way. So that's one pasuk, and it is written in Hosea, "Immorality, wine, and fresh wine take the heart. Therefore he did not drink the wine." So this is Ashmedai. He's being careful. Now, this is something which is very interesting. The later pasuk, we just brought two psukim, one from Mishlei and one from Hosea. The thing is that Hosea was only written later. How could have Ashmedai said a pasuk of Hosea if Hosea wasn't even written yet? So Tosfos says, they bring it here on the bottom, that although this verse was written by Hosea, who lived long after Shlomo, it was already known in earlier times. So sometimes you have a pasuk, it was only officially recorded later, but they already knew about the concept before. So Ashmedai, he resists, he's not drinking the wine. Later, when he grew thirsty, he could not resist. He drank, became intoxicated, and fell asleep. So now Ashmedai is drunk, he fell asleep. Benayo came down from the tree, threw the chain on Ashmedai, and closed it around his neck. When Ashmedai awoke, he began to thrash about, attempting to free himself. Benayo said to him, "The name of your master, that is Hashem, is upon you. That is, Hashem's name is upon you, for it is engraved on the chain around your neck, therefore you cannot free yourself." So he has superpower, he has the power of Hashem. It's not just any chain here. So now Benayo was successful and he captured Ashmedai. Benayo set out to bring Ashmedai to King Shlomo. And now it's going to discuss what happened while they were traveling. As Benayo was leading him toward Yerushalayim, Ashmedai came across a palm tree. He brushed against the tree and knocked it down. This is just from Ashmedai brushing himself on a tree, it knocks it down. And we already mentioned before that demons like to destroy. We said Ashmedai means like to destroy. And here we see a few examples of this. Then he came across a house and he knocked it down as well. They came near the hut of a widow. The widow came out and pleaded with him not to brush against her hut. He twisted his body away from it, and as a result, one of his bones broke. So it's interesting. We're talking about demons in a very physical way here. It's like saying that one of his bones broke. He said, "This is the meaning of that which is written, and a soft expression can break a bone." The widow's soft-spoken words caused him to break a bone. So he was able to knock down a tree, knock down a house, but when it came to this widow's hut, her soft words and her pleading was able to, cause him to, turn away and even break a bone of this demon. So, all of these things require a lot of, what are these three things over here? What's the palm and the house and the hut? What's going on over here? They continued toward Yerushalayim. Ashmedai saw a blind man who had lost his way and guided him back on his way. So before he's doing destructive things, and now he's helping people. He saw a blind person and he's guiding him back. So I guess demons could also be kind. He saw a drunkard who had lost his way and guided him back on his way. He saw a wedding being celebrated with great joy and he cried. He heard a certain man telling a shoemaker, "Make me shoes that will last for 7 years," and he laughed. He saw a certain sorcerer engaged in sorcery and he laughed. The Gemara right now doesn't explain what was going on in this story, but it just points out this is what happened. Eventually, they reached Yerushalayim. When Ashmedai arrived there, they did not bring him to Shlomo until the 3rd day. So, there was some time. They gave him a few days. Let's look at 15. Maharal explains that the delay in Shlomo's meeting with Ashmedai alludes to the idea that there's a great disparity between humans and demons, which must first be overcome for them to engage together. This is further alluded to by the fact that Shlomo was unable to come for the first 2 days because of the ill effects of over-drinking and overeating, both of which do not apply to demons. So, yeah.
They just said that the drink made the demon fall asleep. So that's a contradiction.
Why? Now it's saying that Shlomo.
Both of which do not apply to demons, but over drinking applied to the demon, made him sleepy.
Oh, we just mentioned that it did happen to them.
Yeah, so
that's a question on the Maral.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to look into that. That's that seems to contradict what we just said. But we see over here the gap, the 3 days. We see here that it was there needed to be time before Shlomo Melech could encounter this demon. It also reminds us of, when Hashem told Abraham to bring his son, it was on the 3rd day, right? Hashem didn't show him the place right away for the Akedah, for binding Yitzchak. It says it was on the 3rd day that's when Hashem showed him the mountain, and that's when it happened. So we see here that there's the 3rd day, on the 3rd day. I think also by Matan Torah, when Hashem gave the Torah, was on the 3rd day of preparation. So now Ashmedai is getting impatient. He's like, okay, you schlepped me here to bring me to the king. Why is he, when is going to be our meeting? On the 1st day, Ashmedai asked them, why does the king not ask for me to be brought to him? They told him, he has been overcome by drinking too much wine. Ashmedai took a brick and placed it on top of another brick. What does that mean? They went and told Shlomo what Ashmedai had done.
It's interesting. Usually keeping someone waiting is a power play. It shows how important you are and how unimportant they are. But then they say he was drunk, which takes away that impression of
the power
and precedence.
Yeah.
Mixed messages.
You're saying from the Maharal, it's kind of showing that there's a difference, maybe that there's a certain superiority for people over demons. But over here it sounds like that this was a lacking of Shlomo, the fact that he was drunk. Shlomo said to them, this is what he was telling you. What's the sign of the one brick on top of another? Give him wine to drink again. This is a little remedy for someone who has a hangover, is that if you drink some more, it could help you with your hangover. So he put one brick on another, he says, drink some more wine. I was thinking maybe, I don't know, Ashmedai wanted to harm Shlomo. The next day, Ashmedai asked them, and what does the king not ask for me to brought to him today? What happened today? They told him he has been overcome by eating too much food. Ashmedai took one brick off the other and placed it onto the ground. They came and told Shlomo what Ashmedai had done. He said to them, this is what he was telling you. Withhold his food from him. Don't give him too much food. I'm trying to understand why he had to do this brick thing. Like, you see that he's talking. Why did he have to use these bricks? I'm not sure. Why he was trying to tell him in a hint. Okay, so at last Ashmedai was allowed to see Shlomo. At the end of the 3rd day, he came before Shlomo. Ashmedai took a reed, measured off a piece of 4 amos long, and threw it in front of Shlomo. He said to Shlomo, now, when that person, that is Shlomo, dies, he will not have anything in this world except the 4 amos of his burial plot. It's like, what do you think the power of a person is? How, you only have 4 amos. Meanwhile, you have conquered the entire world. Were you not satisfied until you conquered me as well? It's like, why did you have to bother me? Like, you're ruling over the whole world. Why did you have to come capture the demons? Shlomo replied to him, I do not want anything from you for myself. I want only to build the Beis HaMikdash, for which I need the Shamir. So footnote 20, that is, I ordered your capture not out of desire to use my power, but for the sake of Hashem's glory, to build his house, the Beis HaMikdash. So this is a little bit what you said before. Shlomo was not trying to show his power over the demons. He was trying to, to get something for the Beis HaMikdash. See here maybe another message. Shlomo Melech is trying to say that really everything in this world is for the Beis HaMikdash. Even demons, they're here for a purpose, protect the Shamir. So finally, so this is a whole process. So first, they got the two demons to tell him about Ashmedai. Then they have to capture Ashmedai. Finally, he's brought to Shlomo, and then Ashmedai gives out the secret about where to find the Shamir. Ashmedai said to him, "The Shamir has not been entrusted to me. It has been entrusted to the angel known as the Master of the Sea. And the Master of the Sea does not give it to anybody except the wild cock, whom he trusts to keep his oath that it would return the Shamir." So, it's still a process. What does the wild cock do with the Shamir? He carries it to the mountains that are not a habitat for vegetation and places it on a mountain's peak, whereupon the mountain cracks open slightly. So the Shamir is so powerful, it puts it on top of this mountain and it cracks the mountain. Then the wild cock collects seeds of trees, brings them to the mountaintop, and tosses them into the crack. The mountain thus becomes a habitat for vegetation from which the wild cock can eat. So it seems like this wild cock is actually using the Shamir for his own purposes. He's trying to get a place to keep his food, so he gets the Shamir to crack open this mountain to place his food there. It's interesting. We actually read about this bird in last week's Parsha. In Parsha Shemini, one of the birds that Torah says is called a Nagar Tura, which the Gemara interjects. This is what the Targum names the Duchifas. That's the name of this bird. It's the mountain cutter. Why is it the mountain cutter? Because of what it says over here. And in Rashi on the Chumash, it actually quotes this Gemara over here, explaining why it's called a mountain cutter, because of the story, what it does to, with the Shamir. The Gemara returns to the story of how Shlomo acquired the Shamir. Shlomo's servants searched until they found the nest of a wild cock that had young, and while the cock was away, they covered its nest with clear glass. When the wild cock came back, it wanted to enter the nest but was unable to do so. It could see its young through the glass and was frustrated by its inability to reach them. It brought the Shamir and placed it on the glass in order to crack it open. Because it wasn't able to get to its kids, so it had to break the glass. What is it going to use? It's going to use the Shamir. A servant of Shlomo then shouted at the wild cock to frighten it. It dropped the Shamir, and he took it. Having lost the Shamir, the wild cock went and choked itself to death for having violated its oath to return it to the Master of the Sea. But in the end, Shlomo got the Shamir. So he got what he wanted to.
Shame about this crazy magical bird, though.
What?
Shame about the death of this crazy magical bird, though.
Yeah. So let's go a little bit deeper into here. What's happening with this story here? There's a lot of, seems very mysterious, almost like a riddle. What could this whole story mean? What is the secret of the Shamir and this Ashmedai?
Do we back up?
What?
Do we back up?
Yes.
Inside anything about the Shamir?
So maybe we'll get back to the inside. I brought some. Yeah.
Just been where we want.
Okay, so this is from Rabbi Levi Yitzchak. This is the Rebbe's father. He was a big Kabbalist. And just on this Gemara, he has like about 30 pages of Kabbalah explaining this story. And it's still missing. Like I tried to get to the end, but I guess they don't have all the writings, but at least part of it we could try to understand. So I'm saying obviously we can't understand everything just on face value. There's much deeper meaning. but we'll try to examine some of it, and it'll give us some insight to what the story might mean. So where it says Isa begemara, on the second to last line, where it says Isa begemara. Under Lamed. Isa begemara. Yeah. Yes. So one question he's going to discuss, we asked this question before, why specifically do we need demons to find a Shamir? What connection is there between demons and a Shamir? You know, if they seem like two totally different things. So the Gemara says about the Shamir, Shlomo needed it for the building of the Beis HaMikdash. He didn't know where it was. I see Shida v'Shidatin. He said, bring a male demon and a female demon. Kavshinu adadi. The next page. Efshar diyadi umegalilach. So we're just going to summarize the Gemara here. He says, maybe they'll reveal to you this secret. I see they brought him Amru Anan la Yadina, and they said, we don't know. Dolma Ashmedai Malka the Shida Yada, maybe Ashmedai knows. Ve'isa Sham Sha'isi la Ashmedai of Amrele Ledidile Masrili says, I don't know. L'Sara Diyama Masrili, it's the master of the sea. V'la Yovle Ela Tarnagoyla Bara was only given to the wild cock, the Meheman Le Ashvua, so which he trusts with his oath. Ayin Sham. So that's a recap of the Gemara in short. Hine Masha Amr Rabbanan she'efshar Shida v'Shidatin yoidim efayu Shamir. Why does the Gemara say that perhaps the demons know where the Shamir is? Mahu shaychusam lahashamir. What is the connection between demons to the Shamir? So Rabbi Levi Yitzchak gives interesting answer. Ki Shamir hu miadvarim shenivru be'erev Shabbos bein hashmashos. Last week we learned that there's 10 things that were created on Erev Shabbos by Twilight. One of the things were the Shamir. Like Maishari and Nivraim Shenivru Mikaidem. Not like other creations that were created, during the 6 days of creation. V'lachein lo yada efahu. That's why he didn't know where it was. I guess because Twilight is it's this in-between zone, so you don't really know what it is. It's like there's so many questions about Bein HaShmashos. So Shlomo Melech, how do I find this Shamir? It's Bein HaShmashos. V'hinei, yesh oimrim, some people say in the Mishnah, Sha'af hamazikin nivru be'erev Shabbos Bein HaShmashos. Some people say that the demons were also created by Twilight. Kidisa ba'aves parakei ayin sham, like we say in Pirkei Avos. Lachein efshar sha'ashedim shenivra bizman sha'ashamir nivra. If they were both created in the same time, yoidim efahu shamir. They would know where the Shamir is. They're both created by Bein HaShmashos, by Twilight. So who are you going to ask about the Shamir? You got to ask the demons. They were created at the same time. Now here he's going to go into the Kabbalah of Shamir. What does the Shamir represent in Kabbalah? The Shamir hu bechinas gevuros. The Shamir represents gevura, severity, something which is harsh. V'zeh she'ein kol davar kasha yochal lamed b'fanav. Rashi said that the Shamir is so strong, so powerful that nothing could stand in front of it. So that's really harsh. That's really gevura. Kidisa b'sachta saita daf memches amid beis ayin sham. Yeah, it says over there.
What does ayin sham mean?
It means see there. Check it out. They're nice enough in the footnote 6. They actually bring the source, and it says.
What did it say in number 6? Sota.
Sota, yeah.
Like in the same drink.
So Sota is the tractate Masechta Sota,
Oh.
and over there it's interesting to read it. It says in footnote 6, Tanu Rabbanan, Shamir Zui. This Shamir Briyase Kesaera. It's created as a hair, just like one hair. Umisheshis Yimei Breishis Nivra is created in the 6 days. Ve'ein kol davar kasha yachal lamed b'fanav. Anything which is hard cannot stand in front of it. That's how strong it is. However strong or hard something is, the Shamir could split it open. So back inside, kol davar hakasha muvan shein mebchinas gevuris v'dinim. anything which is hard, obviously it's connected to gevura, to din, to judgment. Ki rechichus umitzad chasadim. Soft is coming from kindness. The kashius umitzad agvuris. When something is hard and harsh, that's obviously gevura. V'ayin v'ma'eri merach kasha ayin sham. He says to look at another sefer of Kabbalah where you see that the word kasha is actually the gematria of Elikim. It's a little bit of a complicated gematria, so we'll just leave it. Basically, we understand that kasha is connected to gevura. So the next page. So we see here already that Shamir represents something which is very gevura, very, very strong. Hine, legabe hashamir shubchenes gevuris hayoser el yonim. Shamir is the highest level of gevura. Gevura is the bina. It's the gevura of the level of bina, like chachma, bina, and das. So the gevura of bina. Ein shari ha-gevura shem advarim akashim yicholim lamed mipanav. Any other level of gevura cannot stand against the gevura of bina. That's why anything will split or break in front of him. And now he's focusing on the word split. Again, when you split something, you're breaking something that is connected to gevura again. It's just, we also know, we connect this to Pesach, we have the 3 matzahs, right? So we split the middle matzah. And we know that the matzahs are also connected to Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes. So the middle one we break. So we see there that breaking, splitting is connected to Gevura. All right, you ready for some gematria now? Shamir, who Shin Reish Mem Yud. You take the word Shamir. It has in it a shin or resh. The shin is at the beginning of the word, resh is at the end, and in the middle it has mem yud. Shin resh hu elokim b'milo yudin. Shin. If you take the word elokim, and each letter you spell it out, like aleph, you write it aleph lamed pei. It's nice, they do the gematria here on the bottom, so it works out. If you look at 13, so you have Elokim b'milo yudin. Elokim with the yuds in it, it equals 300, which is shin. Aleph lamed pei is 111. Lamed 74. Hey is 15. Yud 20. Mem 80 equals 300. So Elokim, with using the yuds inside it, equals to shin. So that's the shin of the Shamir. Then we have uberibua hu acharayim. Then there's another gematria, which is you do each letter and then you add +1. If you look at the end of footnote 13, you do aleph is 1, aleph lamed is 31, and then aleph lamed hey is 36, aleph lamed hey yud is 46, and then aleph lamed hey yud and mem, that's 200. So that's another type of gematria where you keep on adding one letter and then, adding the numbers to it.
No.
Yeah, basically. So that's another type of gematria. So
How much is the value of the shin?
300,
300, okay.
and resh is 200. And we're saying that Elokim could equal either 300 or 200 based on how you do the gematria. If you do the gematria,
Mem is 40.
mem is 40.
340 a yud.
Yud is 10.
And
So kuf is not the real letter. Kuf, it's a hey. It just we don't write elo. It's supposed to be with a hey. It's really 5. So
55, 355.
So, so like this, Elokim, just the word Elokim is 86. Just
Yeah.
the
The kuf there stands for Elohim.
it's supposed to be with a him, like the way we.
Elohim.
You're right. So if you just take the word, that would be 86. But each one of these letters, you could write it out in full. Like you write Aleph, it's not just the letter Aleph, it's Aleph. So that would be Aleph Lamed Pei. So now you have how much for Aleph? It's 111. That's 111. Then you take Lamed, it's not just the letter, it's 3 letters, Lamed. So that's 74.
So, yes.
Then you take Hey and Yud, 15. Then you take Yud, it's Yud Vav Dalet, 20. And then you have Mem, but also 2 Mems. So that's 300. So that's Elokim in the Shin. Then you have another type of gematria where you take the same letter and you keep on adding 1. You add 1 letter, so you start Aleph, 1. Then Aleph Lamed, 31. Aleph Lamed Hey, 36. Aleph Lamed Hey Yud, 46. Aleph Lamed Hey Yud Mem, 86. So that's 200. So that's
200 and 300 is 500.
But we're focusing here.
There's a shin and 300 is a resh.
So that's the shin and the resh of the Shamir.
Okay.
So that's Elokim. So we see here that it's connected with Gevura again. Now what's Beineihem? What's the letters in between? The letters in between is Mi, Mem and Yud. What is that? Shekol Zehu al Bina. This is the level of Bina. Bina Nikra Mi. K'mashakasav Mi Yamalel Gevurais Hashem.
What is Bina Nikrami?
So over here in footnote 15, it says that Mi is 50, and there are 50 gates of Bina. Also,
This Quran always stops.
He's a mathematician.
Using every gematria trick in the book.
yeah, but the Mi is Bina. It's not. I'm saying this is not the first source. It's many places. It says that Mi is connected to the level of Bina, and we said before that. What is the Shamir? It's the most powerful type of Gevura. It's such a strong thing. And the Gevura of Bina, that's the most powerful. That's what Shlomo HaMelech was looking for to try to get that Gevura. So that's a bit about the Shamir and the Kabbalah, how it's connected to Elokim. So the last page over here. V'hashedim V'ashedim shenivru gamkein be'erev Shabbos bein hashmashos. The demons that were created on erev Shabbos by twilight, she'az nivra hashamir, v'heim gamkein b'chinas gvuros v'dinim azikin. If we're looking for so what do they share in common? What do the demons have in common with the Shamir? First of all, they were created in the same time. They were created by twilight. Second of all, they're also Gevura. They also represent harshness, dina, destruction. Ukishmam, shade, shemashin shdida v'hiras. The word shade means destruction. Efshar yodim heichanu hashamir. That's why Shlomo Melech was thinking maybe they know where the Shamir is, because we're looking for something Gevura. We're looking for something harsh. So let's ask the demons, and that's what they represent. And that is the truth. Shahamalka shalahem, their king, Yada shenimsar l'sarei shel yam. He actually knew that it was given over to the minister of the sea. V'hu mesarei l'dechifas, and that was given over to this wild cock, to this bird. So this gives a little bit more understanding of our Gemara, what's the connection between the demons and the Shamir. First of all, they were both created in the same time, Bein Hashmashos, and they both have an idea of Gevura. The Shamir is connected to the name of Elokim, like we just said, in the different Gematria.
The hotel is made by the Shamir.
The
First time. Shlomo's time.
Shlomo's temple.
Yeah, the wall is created by Herod.
that's
Centuries later.
the later.
There's some of the original wall deep down into the tunnels. I've seen that. The original temple wall in the tunnel.
Yeah.
So the original temple was carved out from Shamir.
Shlomo's temple was carved by the Shamir, yeah. And how did they get the Shamirs from this whole story that we just read in the Gemara?
And they could put brick upon brick with ease. Tons of brick.
So the Shamir, he was just cutting it to make sure that it was the right shape and the right size. Now another thing, which and he doesn't expound upon it so much, but in the end, who actually had the Shamir? Who had the possession of the Shamir? The cock, which was a type of bird, like a type of tarnagol, and he connects this to kaparas actually.
I was thinking maybe it connected to one of the other because the first thing you say in the morning,
Nice and lasach vivina. He gives the
which says gives the cock the power to crow, but it also says by interpretation gives humankind brings humankind to awareness after sleep.
right.
So the Shamir is connected to Gevura.
And Bina, remember we just mentioned.
Bina.
So that's very good. Nice and lasach
the
vivina.
cock, by way of the Sefer Bina, is connected to awareness, which is Das, I think.
Yeah, it could be connected to das, but
So it's an interesting connection.
and Hashem gave the cock the bina to know where the shamir is. Wow, that's a nice chiddush over there.
And he gave us Nachvim ben Yom ben Laila.
Right?
It's not very mean on Nachvim ben Yom ben Laila. So the cock has non-rules.
So how would this?
Associated with awareness. Bina
And so there you see bina and das. But what's the connection here to the kapara? So I don't know. It doesn't say this clearly, but I feel like this is what Shlomo Melech was trying to do. All these things represent Gevura, right? These demons and the Shamir. But what was Shlomo trying to do? He was trying to take control of it, which is basically he was trying to, what is called in Kabbalah, sweeten the Gevuras. Because these things are so harsh, it's not good to be in the wrong hands. You know, Shlomo HaMelech wanted to take control to kind of sweeten these Gevuras.
So Kaporos deflects.
Exactly. So that
Kaporos deflects what?
Kaporos,
I know.
when you do that,
Shake the
it
chicken
deflects.
above your head.
It deflects the judgment.
yeah, but what's the idea of the kapara? Why do we shech the chicken? We say that if anything bad should happen to us, it should happen to the chicken, you know?
Yeah, transfer.
The idea is taking away the gevura, taking away the harsh judgment, it should kind of go away and be sweetened. We should have a good year. So that kind of could be the idea over here, why it was connected to this chicken, to this cock. You know, this cock also represented gevura. That's why it had the shamir. But what happened to this shamir in the end? It had a kapara. It actually did it, I don't know, somehow to itself.
Oh, interesting. Kapara and chicken's death all both involve the neck. So what is the neck?
What is the neck?
Stiff-neckedness,
Ah,
which is another style
of
of
gevura,
Yeah.
she'eref.
Stubbornness.
Yeah, then that's interesting.
And roosters are known for being, cocky, pardon the expression, arrogant.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of diva there.
So there's a lot of things to think about. But if you take this approach that it's all connected to Gevura and Shlomo was trying to sweeten it, you could get understanding, first of all, why the demons had a connection to this,
You could also
To the
put
Shem.
shekels
yeah, yeah.
Well, you do kaparas to humble yourself.
on your head.
So maybe all this was Shlomo humbling himself.
Okay, so that I wanted to bring out. I
If
read.
I jumped ahead,
You're always jumping ahead. So I read just 2 days ago someone taking a whole different approach on this Gemara, and he was saying, this is not from Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, and I don't know how much of a source this person is, but it's an interesting idea, the way he looks at this Gemara. And he says that, I forget his name even. I don't know. I just like came across this sefer. I have to remember. I forgot his name. I'll try to check it up. So he says like this: we know Shlomo. He was the wisest of all men. He was the Chacham Mikol Adam. So this person claims that Shlomo HaMelech tried to acquire a different type of wisdoms, like philosophy, and things like that. And going into philosophy could be very dangerous. And he says that all these demons that the Gemara is talking about is actually referring to foreign wisdoms, like things that are not the Torah, different ideas that are out there, that if you compare them to the truth of Torah, they're like demons, kind of. That's what he says. And Shlomo HaMelech, he felt that he would be able to be in control of it, where, he says, I'll be able to learn the philosophy and at the same time say, oh, I have you in chains, I have the name of Hashem upon you, I'm not going to go too far. But at the end, later on, what happened was he actually let loose a little bit of those chains, and then it says the demons kind of swallowed him up. And he says that represents, when the ideas take over you, instead of you being in control of the different ideas, it's where kind of Shlomo lost control.
And then he got severely depressed and wrote Koheles.
So the way this person explains, he says that Koheles is kind of part of this whole thing, like this whole thing where...
It even says in Koheles, I studied all the wisdoms.
Yeah.
They're all vain.
Right, but I'm saying one of the things it says where the demon Ashmedai says, I'm not going to drink wine, right? Because that's like a certain approach that smart people have, like I'm not going to drink wine to be able to study all the philosophies. So that is a philosophy in itself. So he says Shlomo was kind of hinting to Koheles when he said that the demon doesn't want to drink wine. You see what he's saying? He's, according to this person's interpretation, this whole demon thing is all within Shlomo. He's just like going through his different, trying to understand different understandings. And just something beautiful, I like the way he explained. He said that when he came to this woman's house, the hut, it says that the soft word broke his bone. And he says that Shlomo HaMelech realized that sometimes you have hard facts, or like science has kind of like hard proofs, but then you have emunah. When you have belief, it might seem soft, but that could break a bone. Like all your hard proofs that science and other things could have, but Shlomo's emunah, when it kicked back into him, that kind of broke that demon. Like it broke that idea that he had. Like he could have many questions and different sfekos that could arise in a person. But once your emunah kicks back, so even though it seems soft, but it's actually so powerful that it could even break the hardest proofs of different science.
So that would imply that the palm tree and the house were also different philosophies
Yes.
from different nations.
So that's what he was saying. And the thing is, he says when he got to the house, this is an interesting idea. He says the small hut represents the Beis HaMikdash. And at a certain, and he said that at a certain point, Shlomo HaMelech, see, it's hard to say, but he said he was having doubts, like even regarding the Beis HaMikdash, because you could have all different types of questions, like, oh, does Hashem have a house? Is this his only place? He started having questions. So then once he realized that he's having doubts about the Beis HaMikdash, like that broke him. He's like, this is too far. I can't go too much with my chachma. And that soft bone, that soft, that woman kind of broke him. That's when he realized that he has to go back to the emunah.
The palm tree could be Babylonia, famous for their gardens. And the house could be the ziggurats of Persia? I don't know who has the ziggurats, but that's another great Phoenicians, maybe one of the great nations of that era, these great conquerors. And so he may have been, they're trying to seduce him, The wine makes me think of the Epicureans. So the Epicureans are famous for two things. One, to be an Epicure is to be a connoisseur of food and drink. And the other is the Epicureans have this whole philosophy that says it raises serious doubts about Hashem. They say if God is omniscient, omnipotent, and all good, then why does the world like it is? He can't be, he's omniscient and he allows evil, then that's bad. If he's omnipotent and he allows evil, that's bad. And if he's all good and he allows evil, that's bad. So therefore, then they cast down on the nature of God. I just read about this yesterday, and I said, well, you forgot the fourth quality of God, which is he's unknowable. But it took the little lady in the hut
So that word
stop, to break the demon.
to break it.
Yeah.
So that word epicurus, it sounds like epicurus.
Epicurus, Epicurean.
Yeah. So all these things. So saying, you see, for the two sides that Shlomo was, his challenge. From one hand, because he was so wise, he was trying to kind of include all the different wisdoms in the Torah, and he says, this is not going to affect me. And for a while, he did, gain control. But at the same time, it says at a certain point, the demons kind of got a control of Shlomo Melech. It's kind of where these ideas gained control over him. And then we'll get to the next part of the story next time. But this is another perspective on this Gemara, that these demons could be referring to different ideas, different philosophies that are outside.
I wonder what they thought of him, because they could see the future that's posited by the three instances in the Gemara.
So next.
I'm wondering what he thought of the king.
Yeah.
What he could see right away.
So it says that they could only see to the near future, not to the far future. But we'll get to this next time. So either way, we have two different perspectives. Either Shlomo was trying to conquer the Gevura, and that's this whole Shamir is representing, or he was trying to conquer different philosophies, different ideas. All right, Yeshakayach.
Epicurean and Epicurus are directly related.
Yeah? Oh, wow.
Yeah.